are live, everybody. We are deep down in the bowels of Leafs music. It's episode 79 of Kamloops Last Week. Chris Foulds, Magic Mike, and Bill at the controls. 79. Anything?
79, yeah, that was the year that soccer reached its pinnacle in Vancouver, in Canada. Has never been back there since. Yeah, the Whitecaps won the Soccer Bowl. I remember watching that as a kid. Trevor Whitemark, Willie Johnston, Phil Parks, and they beat the Tampa Bay Rowdies in the final at Giant Stadium. And a few days before that, they beat the New York Cosmos in the semifinal. A lot of people think they beat the Cosmos in the final. They actually beat the Cosmos in the semifinal.
Your best friend, Carl Valentine.
Carl Valentine was on that team, yep. And
Tony Waiters.
Kevin Hector, great player. He went back to play with Derby County, my favorite team in England. They're in League One right now, but working the way back up. But the Soccer Bowl of 1979 had 100,000 people came out or more, lined the streets. The Whitecaps won the biggest trophy in North American soccer sports at the time. That was 1979, and the league folded 5 years later. And even though the MLS is big now, there's never been a bigger moment in soccer history in Vancouver.
That's one of the best sports moments in the history of Vancouver, period.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
That parade, too?
That parade, that championship, because it was the only one. And that soccer back then was almost like a shooting star. It came really, really big real quick, and then it just died out.
Was Pele was in the
Pele
league.
was on the Cosmos
That's right.
at the time.
Yeah.
So it was Chinchilla, Giorgio Chinchilla, he's the South American one. And it was a big league. It was a great league, and then it just fizzled out. Yeah,
I'm sure Mike really doesn't care about that, but what about you for 1979?
All I could hear, oops. Yeah, here we go. All I could think about it was blah, 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 blah when you're talking sports. But 1979 was a huge year. My Sharona by the Knack.
Oh, what a
was
song.
topping the charts.
Yeah.
Hot Stuff, Gloria Gaynor was topping the charts. YMCA was there. Disco was...
That was Disco's last hurrah, and then it kind of faded the next year.
So, for 1979, for me, that's when my little sister came around and my life forever changed because
She was born then?
She was born in 1979.
All right, yes.
And she was a straight A student all through school, and
Were you like the black sheep or like the rebellious one?
I was the. She changed high schools because she couldn't handle my
Your antics?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, my sister changed high schools, and I was the rebellious one. I don't think she changed because of me.
Yeah.
She went back to a Christian school, but similar there. I was kind of like the rebellious one, and my sister was the God's child. Fresh haircut for you? Where do you get your haircut?
At Cindy's barbershop across from Memorial Arena. She used to be in the Plaza Hotel, but she moved down there, and she works only from she opens at 5 in the morning because she does a lot of guys at the mine and people who work early. So I was there at 7 this morning. She's the best. She's great. She used to be married to Leo Baggio, and I only found that out because I ran into Leo Baggio. Really good talk. Turns out he used to be married to my barber back in the day. So there's a roundabout way of...
Amazing.
There's a story for you today.
Great story. Where do you get your haircut?
Anyway, she doesn't take new customers. She's so busy.
Is
you
that
have
where Jack
to know
Bell
her.
goes to?
No, Jack Bell can't make the cut.
So I get my haircut from Anita Haircut. She went to hairdressing school and lived with us while she was going to school, and she's cut my hair for the last.
Is that a
30
playing a
years.
prank on us right
Anita
now?
No, her
haircut?
name's Anita, and her company's name.
you're
She's on
serious?
Tranquil, and it's called Anita Haircut.
Okay.
Whereabouts on Tranquil is she?
Right beside the Effie.
Oh, right in Tranquil on the corridor
right
there.
on
They
Tranquil,
call that
yeah.
the market. Yeah, the Effie's a great place.
He loves that.
I love
And
the
she's
Effie.
great.
Red
Like
beard,
all
too.
Italians,
Yeah.
we're related. So go and see her.
Yes,
or
good.
I don't go to her enough, but
Maybe she wants to
great.
sponsor the Magic Mirror right up there. Brought to you by maybe Anita Haircut.
Anita
That's a great
Haircut.
name.
We can just get her behind you just cutting hair. For an
You can
hour.
do that one day, yeah.
Do a live haircut here, yeah.
Okay, we do have a really good show today. We have the #1 ranked women's curler in the world
In the world.
on our show today.
It's amazing.
Kerri Einarson, she joins us. We got the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, starts on Friday at the Sandman Centre. We also have Clancy Grandy. We pre-filmed 2 weeks ago, I think, with her.
Yeah.
Had a good talk with her. She's the BC entrant. She's the one that knocked out Corinne Brown. We had a good chat with her. We talked to her about that. We're also going to hear from Matt Dunstone, who you have a problem with. You always have.
Well, there's a problem.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. You just can't handle Matt Dunstone.
No, he's probably a good guy, but he makes decisions that are kind of quirky.
We'll talk
and
about
wrong. They're
his
wrong.
decisions.
basically.
His decisions you think are wrong. We'll talk about those later. And also, Arjun Singh is going to be here.
Yeah, the former councillor, a longtime councillor, he's going to come and join us shortly to talk about the legacy of two longtime legendary politicians in Kamloops who died on the same day recently.
Crazy.
Pat Wallace and Cliff Branchflower both died on February 11th. Arjun will talk about their legacy and what he learned from both of them.
Pat Wallace, 11-term.
Yep.
11-term councillor.
1980 to 2018, 11 terms, and she did a run for provincial politics and a run for mayor in there. She wasn't successful, but she was very successful as a city councillor.
And Cliff Branchflower, before my time, but throughout the 90s.
He ran the whole city through the 90s. It was Branchflower, Kretchen, and Clinton. Those are the three in the 90s. And, of course, Glenn Clark and all his scandals.
Let's talk about the feedback we got last week from our show last week, because we had Reid Hamer-Jackson on, Kamloops Mayor for Reader's Digest, and he brought up pay for council and how he feels like it kind of warrants full-time work. It all stemmed from a conversation about limiting public inquiry time for the public who want to show up at council meeting and talk. Dale Bass is putting forth a motion that says we want to limit that because it drags on too long. That's kind of what sparked the conversation of the mayor saying, I don't want to limit that. What was the feedback we got?
Yeah, so he on our show he dropped his belief that even though a councillor position is officially part-time, they have always said, but it's full-time hours. And he's saying, he looked at their pay and says, some of you are making, six of the 8 of them are making about 55 grand a year or more, 57. He goes, that's full-time pay. That's more than a lot of people make full-time. So in his view, what they make is full-time pay. So they should work full-time. And of course, I thought that made a good story. So I got Michael Potestio to look into it, and he talked to
Dale Bass
and Michael Riley and Margot Middleton, I think, the 3 councillors. And they, in today's newspaper on page A10, there's a good story. It's online at kamloopsthisweek.com. And they explain why they think making it a full-time gig is not a good idea. One of the reasons Dale Bass said was if you made this a full-time gig where you didn't have any other job, you'd only have retirees, rich people. And business owners who have very flexible schedules running the city. And you would eliminate people who might be, day-to-day workers, younger people who get a bit of time off work but can't get that much time off work, but they can go to the Tuesday meetings and some other stuff.
And she said 4 of her colleagues already have full-time.
4 full-time, but they have very flexible times. Mike O'Reilly is a CEO. He's in a high position. Margot Middleton runs her family's company. Who are the other 2 who are working there? Katie Newsteader, she's head of the United Way, and then the 4th one,
Karpuk?
Stephen Karpuk owns his own chiropractic practice. So they are in positions where they have a lot of flexibility, and the other 4 retired, right? So she has a point there. Like during the campaign, there was a lot of people running, 22 for council, and one of them, Jesse Ritzy, one of his appeal to voters was. You really don't have any renters on council. Everyone is established. They've established themselves, and they might not feel the pressures and the stresses that, say, the younger population does. My kids will never own a home, that kind of thing. And he was running saying, among other things, we should have a renter's voice on council. And I think that was a really interesting idea.
I think it just kind of snowballed. I'm not sure the mayor was lobbying to make any changes.
He brought it up unsolicited. We didn't ask him. He brought it up, and I just right away I thought, okay, so I sketched out a skeleton of a story and sent it to Mike because it's newsworthy.
No,
we've talked about that before about full time. There's been tons of stories done by us and others in the past where councillors will talk about, they get before it was 30, 25 grand a year, but they're actually working way longer. Some work more than others, but we all know it's a very hours long process.
And he made his point saying that he just doesn't understand why it's fair to cut people's time off when he's giving organizations like Ask Wellness half an hour. That was kind of the point that he was
trying to say. The precedent has been set.
I
think again, I think that long meeting, while it was long and probably torturous for some people, I was watching it while working. It was on our deadline. I had it or listening to it on the computer. I learned a lot there. I learned more than I would have had they shut him up down. I thought it was a good conversation. I think I think you should have a limit generally. But when there's issues that come up that deserve more, then the mayor, and it's his prerogative, he should say, today we're going to let them go because it's important, whatever that issue may be.
Then it becomes just kind of subjected to what he feels is important, though.
Well, he's the mayor, he's chairing the meeting, so whatever, right? So, but someone could come forward and talk about emergency management or wildfire preparation, or there's issues that you could say, we're going to be a little more lenient on it. But I don't have a problem with Dale Bass's motion because she had a really good point. It's not about shutting people down. It's not about councillors trying to be lazy. Her and Mike O'Reilly both said in the article in today's newspaper, they're there to listen. They work long, but after you start meetings at 9, say budget meetings, you have your regular council meeting at 1, you have a public hearing at 7. By then you're tired, man, and you're not as sharp, and it's not fair to the people who are talking to you at the end of the day.
I have respect for any politician that has to stand up there sometimes and listen to some people babble on when it's complete nonsense and garbage. I'm sitting there covering these events and I'm ready to snap in the back.
I think there should be an addendum.
I could never be a politician, so shout out to.
If I was on council and I urged one of the councillors to make a friendly amendment to Dale Bass's motion, 5 minutes, fine, but nobody can come up and speak if they're repeating what someone else already said, because that is the most annoying thing. People get up there and they just repeat what everyone says. It happens at public hearings. It happens at our election forums where people ask the same question over and over. That should be outlawed.
That is painful.
Yeah, painful.
Okay, we were busy. Mike, you, me, and Chris, we were busy this past weekend.
Yes, we were.
What did we do?
It was the Keystone Awards last weekend. So we were, I was really involved in that with the setup and all that kind of stuff.
I saw you there.
Yeah, you were there, and I invited you guys to help me set up. And it's an early morning setup, and it goes all day and that kind of a thing. So we decided instead of going for our walk, we would just go and actually unload some 5-ton trucks and get some exercise that way.
That's right.
And that's when,
we were going into the Grand Hall, and I hadn't dressed up yet because I was helping, you guys do it. So I was in sweats, and I remember saying to you, I saying, we need to get some coffee to get some energy going, and Marty brought them.
And that was the greatest thing. The whole crew picked right up.
Right before we were done set up, I said, we really should put a Sealy mattress under this TV in case it falls later. And what happened?
I said that was the dumbest idea. The TVs don't fall. We're not going to ever need that. And
what happened during the ceremony?
I wish I would have listened to you, because if I had a Sealy mattress in front of that TV when the Home Hardware jerks...
They were playing Family Feud and they knocked it over.
Family Feud. And they got a little bit rambunctious and they body checked the table, which sent the TV flying forward onto its face instead of having it smash.
It would have landed on that Sealy.
It would have landed on a Sealy mattress.
And it's amazing right now because it is fabulously free February. It's interest-free Sealy mattresses right now at Gord's Appliance and Mattress Centre. Another thing I noticed about those awards, because Fouldsy had to go, he was supposed to speak, right? But he got a little bit too many club cars into him before he got up there.
That's right.
And he got up there and he started making this speech, and what was he saying?
Well, he rambles on.
He's just like the people at the council meeting.
It's kind of like his Twitter stuff. It just keeps on going, kind of thing. But it was. He was complaining about the temperature control in the Grand Hall as well.
Yeah.
So
because True keeps it so cold in there, so cold. But then Marty said, "Hey, I know who to call."
Well, we would call Cold Control Mechanical. We still do, even though they don't sponsor our show. We still call them.
They should sponsor the show.
But you kept on bringing up the 4 flavors that Club Car has, which is Sea Breeze, Berry Crush, Peach Melba, and Pineapple.
The Berry Crush is what I crush the berry all the time.
Yeah, and then afterward to celebrate, because you had finally kind of came to after your overindulgence, but we said, let's take him to the Playland. Let's take him to the Aberdeen location Playland. You got dressed up again.
Man, I love it. I have I've got a gorilla suit, as you guys know, and I have different heads for it, so I can be anything. And that day, I was a GMA, genetically modified animal. So I had like little horns and the little nose and the gorilla suit. And Chris and I just had tons of fun frolicking.
I had to leave you guys. It was getting a little bit too kind of amorous between you guys and the Playland.
That's a big word.
It's a brand new Playland at the Aberdeen location, McDonald's. So go check that one out. What a day it was for us. What a weekend. Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's move on now to Above the Folds. It's brought to you by Club Car Beverage Company.
I'm taking all of my time.
Arjun Singh, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
We thought you would have great insight on Pat Wallace and Cliff Branchflower. Why don't we start with Pat? Tell us about her and how she influenced you.
Yeah, so many ways. Pat was an amazing, amazing person. And when I first got on council in 2005, I think we're all kind of intimidated to work with Pat because she was kind of a legend even back then. But she was always somebody who really steered the culture of the group in the best ways. Like she always was really happy about the fact that we could socialize, after meetings and still leave the sort of political sort of conversation at the door. She was known as a big free enterprise person, never made any bones about that, but she was also really open and gracious to folks with other ideologies. So, some of my favorite moments was when Donovan Cavers and Pat Wallace would agree on an issue.
Yeah, that was
and that was just fantastic because he was a big green, she was
worlds colliding. Yeah,
yeah, and it wasn't colliding; it was actually collaborating and really making something better together. And that's really the magic of local government. So, Pat was always very, very keen on that, and as she got older, she got better in a lot of ways. I mean, in terms of how she talked about those things. And I remember once at the TNRD. I think a lot of us are quite passionate about libraries. I don't use libraries very much, but I'm always passionate about the fact that we have a public library system. I remember there was somebody who came with a report saying that we should diminish some library services, and I mean, just Pat was quiet many times, but when she got into an issue, and she just stood up and she made an amazing commentary about how we should keep the system and in fact grow it even better. So really someone that a lot of us looked up to and also just kind of how she worked with people. She was always very gracious. She was always at so many different community events. I mean, she would always put a little half page or quarter page ad in the Kibit hockey program because and people would say, why did council do that? No, I want to do it myself. My kids are into hockey. I want to support that. And she was really active when she was active but she also had a heart for everything. So really great.
In 2018, she retired.
Yeah.
And just a couple weeks before the last council meeting that she would attend, myself, Jessica Wallace, reporter, Dave Eagles, we went and visited Pat at her home in Riverbend. And
you finally got how old she was out of her because she never told anybody.
She never told, but we got her age.
Oh, really?
And we were just going to go and drop by. We ended up spending 3 or 4 hours there, and we brought some wine. I think I went and got another bottle of wine, and she ordered pizza, and we had a great talk. We talked for 3 or 4 hours, and you could tell just there. I think we went back one more time after that, but you could tell she had to retire. Her health was failing her. She was really not up to the task of continuing it's a hard job being a councillor, a lot of energy.
No, not really. It is.
Well, it should be a full-time job. No, but she. What we got from that is she really, really missed it, even though she was and she was gonna miss it, and that was beyond anything. She lived for that, and you could tell it was a bittersweet night because she was very sad. She was quite lonely, I think, at that point, without knowing that she's not going to be around the council table because she would have been a lock to win again, right?
Well, a lot of folks. I mean, I think she was also really savvy as to what she could do and not do, right? I mean, I think that she had a pretty bad fall in 2015, 16, and so that put her back a bit. You think about somebody who has 30 years of council service and how many things she's been able to work on and influence and steer a little bit. And the fact that she was a woman. I mean, back in the 80s when she came on, and even now, it's challenging being a female elected official. Mm-hmm. And I know so many people, myself included, but so many females look to her as that example.
Trailblazer of sorts.
Sorry?
A trailblazer of sorts.
A huge trailblazer.
She was the first ever female chair of the TNRD board. That's a big deal in 83.
We only have the second one now.
Yeah, second one now, which is Barbara Roden. Yeah.
She ran for mayor and
in
failed,
86,
right? And then Kenneth Cartwright became the first Kamloops female mayor. Mm-hmm. But then she went on to the TNRD.
Yeah, in the 80s, she was TNRD chair, the first female one.
Yeah.
She ran for mayor against John Dormer in 86 and lost. And then in 90, Kenneth Cartwright became one.
I want to talk a bit about her provincial and federal service too. I mean, she was president of UBCM way before I was, and still had so much respect. I'd go to meetings probably 10, 15 years after she'd finished that service, and people would still say, how's she doing? Say hi to her for me. When I posted on Facebook about how sad I was about her passing, how much she meant to me, people from Saskatchewan and people from Victoria, people from Ottawa, were all chiming in and saying, what kind of influence they had on them, right? And so, it's funny when you're a warrior for a certain ideology, but you're also somebody who can work with people. That's a really amazing set of skills to have, right? And she was effective because she could do that.
Right.
So she was very happy to go at it at a council meeting, but she was also equally as happy to just sit down and have a glass of wine, often with ice.
Yes, that's right.
And
I'd
have my beer, my Diet Coke, and we'd have these great chats, and so, and as a group, where I was just colleagues, and I was so lucky and grateful to learn from her. And when her and Tina Lang both left at the same time, that was tough on me, because I was like, there were people that I just sort of revered in so many ways, and then when they were gone, it was tough. Yeah,
for sure. Now let's talk about Cliff Branchflower. He predates my time in Kamloops.
Yes.
I think he predates a lot of people's time because the town has grown so much.
Yeah.
And he was mayor from 91 to 99, and a lot of people came to Kamloops after that. And Pat was in the public eye right until the 2018. Now Cliff Branchflower, in a recent column, Doug Collins, legendary news guy down at CFJC, he did a column about mayors.
I love Doug.
And he was ranking the mayors, and just a fun column. And I don't think it goes back to 1893 when the city was incorporated, but the modern time. But Cliff came number one in his mind in his time here.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about Cliff Branchflower in the 90s, as I read up on it, and it's not so much today because people are kind of a little more hesitant to reveal themselves. He was a proud Mormon, Church of Latter-day Saints Mormon. And
after he actually retired from mayor, he went on a mission.
Yes, with his wife to Asia,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, and I was reading some articles and stuff, and it was a more free speaking time then. What do you remember of Cliff? You grew up here, right?
Yeah. So again, a really amazing, very humble man. Would just sort of be at lots of events, but not be kind of out front all the time, But one of the key things that we had some interaction on way back was I'd gone to University of Montreal, and I'd come back. It was around the whole national unity stuff. It was kind of going on all the time, and I was a young kid. And I was I was kind of wanted to kind of do something, right? So I had gone to a event when Nelson Rees was our MP at the time on national unity, and we started a little citizen group of folks who wanted to actually work on national unity. And we wanted to put an ad in a Quebec paper, sort of telling Quebecers we love them and stay in Canada, right? And I'd gone to city council, and kind of just, I don't know why I went there necessarily, but I'd gone there, and I'd asked city council for some money for a goodwill ad, and then challenge other communities across the province. And he was such a big champion. I didn't know him that well, and he was like, yeah, we're going to put this letter on a nice letterhead. We're sending it out to everybody. We're going to make sure that, it's supported and stuff, right? And so he was a real supporter of young people getting involved in the community. And so I've sort of tried to do that when I was on council to make sure that I was also sort of following in that footstep. And then you think about the Canada Games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 1993 was a seminal point in our community where we stopped becoming a dusty mill town and became a tournament capital.
Yeah.
The university was kind of starting to grow even more back then. And so it was kind of like no drama Obama. He wasn't a guy who was kind of out there but he was always quietly pushing things and supporting stuff, and he was always kind of there. And his commitment just to being who he was and to being of service to folks was so apparent. Very committed to his family, and I just want to wish them all the very, my condolences, our condolences, because Yeah, because it's such a time has gone since he was in office that
Yeah.
a lot of folks won't know.
Yeah, they forget.
Yeah.
You know, they won't
What
know
he
at
did,
all.
right? But he was amazing.
He was a decade in power. Also a newspaper man. He was in the composing room of the old Sentinel, daily newspaper. So
Both
that's
of them
good.
received Freedom of the City as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Pat and
Pat and him
Yeah,
both did.
yeah.
That's the highest
That's
highest
the
honor
highest,
you can get as a resident by
Yeah.
the municipality.
Both
right?
passing away on the same day.
on the same day, and
That's crazy.
Amazing.
within a few blocks of each other. They lived on the same street in Brocklehurst, within 5 blocks of each other, which is bizarre.
Cliff was 91 and Pat was 90, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Cliff was 91, Pat was 90.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter there.
Well, they served together because they overlap.
Their
she was
ages
on
was what I
council.
was-
Oh no, yeah, he was 91, Pat was 90.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Well, thanks for coming in. Some great
Thank you
thoughts
very
there.
much, yeah, for
I
the
learned a
opportunity.
lot,
Yeah.
and I think Mike did too.
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Let's move on to the Tattle of Hastings. It's brought to you by Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center.
We have, this wonderful Whirlpool here. And if you want something in a lower price range, I do have a floor model for sale right here. If you want to have a look inside here, always knock first, just in case there's a salad dressing inside. But
Look at him, it just cracks me up.
funny story, I had a gentleman in here yesterday and he brought his blanket in. He was here 3 times and I finally realized he was an undercover cop.
Steve's dad jokes are undeniably painful, but there is nothing cringeworthy about the service at Gord.
Use the front page of our paper on this one.
That's the exact photo on the front page.
Front page would be good. Then we're promoting our paper.
Well, we're not doing it right now by
Well, you
talking
can
about
probably
it.
put it. Yeah, I know. But I'm saying it'd be great to have Kamloops Week there because it's all about marketing.
Okay, but that's not an Alan Douglas photo. That's a
Nope.
Michael Burns Curling Canada photo.
Great
And
photograph.
Great
photographer,
picture.
and that's a great photo.
And that's a great curler, the #1 ranked curler in the world.
The world. That's right.
Kerri Einarson. And
Gimli, Manitoba, right?
Gimli, Manitoba. She's Métis as well.
Yeah.
Jennifer Jones, a lot of history, potential history, likely history, I'd even
In
say.
Kamloops this week.
So, Kerri is trying to win her 4th straight Scotties, which would tie the all-time record for consecutive wins with Colleen Jones from Nova Scotia. Meanwhile, Jennifer Jones, one of the greats of all time.
Greats of all time, yeah.
She's trying to win her 7th Scotties.
Which would be the most ever, right?
all time, which
Yes.
would put her #1 on that list, and good chance either of them win.
Yeah.
Lots of good teams out there, though, so we're not sure. You gonna go this weekend?
Yes, I'm going to go. I have some tickets. We're giving away lots of tickets through Kamloops this week. I've secured 4 that I'll go with somebody, whoever wants to go. Friday or Saturday. I'm flying solo this weekend. And I'm also almost finalizing my bet stamp picks for this thing.
Bet stamp.
Bet stamp, that's right.
What is it?
It's the Trivago of betting. So if you want to get a hotel room and you don't want to go to 500 sites to find the best hotel room, you go to Trivago or one of those sites, hotels.com, and they kind of do all the work for you and get you the best rate. BetStamp does the same thing for betting lines, and you can pick the best odds for your bet.
They call that line shopping. The best place to do it. It's an app you have to download called BetStamp. Use the promo code Kamloops Last week.
I'm leaning toward Alberta to surprise.
Okay, Mike, who are you gonna bet on?
Team Canada.
Team Canada, which you have no idea, which is Kerri
That's
Einarson.
her. You're betting on the favorite. Mike,
What
what
a
make you a
guess
sports
by
fan
you.
yet, man?
You probably had no idea there was actually Team Canada in it.
He was trying to be funny.
Yeah.
You got smacked in the face
Yeah,
by your
there
own
you go.
words. There you go.
Okay.
I did watch the Super Bowl though. I
You
think that
did.
was-
Who won?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Who won?
What's even better is who played.
Yeah, give us your Rihanna review.
Kansas City. Of
That's
course.
right. Good.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
And how'd you like Rihanna's halftime show?
So the halftime show, technically it was really cool because she was on these floating stages that moved up and down and all that kind of a thing. But I wasn't that inspired.
It was kind of tepid. It was kind of tepid. Yeah, it was kind of low key.
And I would have loved to have seen something like Aerosmith or Greta Van Fleet or Led Zeppelin coming back or doing something like that.
Yeah.
That would have been more along my jam, but maybe I'm not.
Both of you
Yeah,
guys are
we're
just-
not the demographic.
Both of you are just anti-women. You don't care the fact that she was pregnant. Okay, we
I
get
mentioned that beforehand. I'm the
I
guy
would-
who brought it up. It was
I'd love
impressive.
to see Hart wouldn't Hart
Hart-
do an amazing
Yeah.
job there?
Yeah.
I think that would just be fantastic.
I think that's too much of an older crowd, though. I
we're
like
not,
Hart.
we're not the
I prefer
demographic.
Hart.
The demographic's my daughter is the 20s and the teenagers.
How about Hart with Rihanna?
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, you cross the generations.
Like, yeah, because it wasn't. I didn't know a lot of the music.
No, I didn't know. I knew
Rihanna
one.
doing,
I recognized one
Barracuda?
song. One song.
Yeah, Barracuda, but
Yeah.
but like doing something like that, I think would be.
Yeah. Get more people interested. Last year was interesting. I'm not a rap fan at all, but the lineup they had was
Snoop,
very
Dre.
very good.
And the
Eminem.
set that they made was technically that was stunning to watch how they did all that.
Yeah.
This one I didn't feel was. I didn't go, oh wow, how'd they do that?
Yeah.
It's
It's pretty
but
basic.
Still good.
We're talking about the Scotties here, though, and
right.
Kerri Einarson. So let's hear from Kerri Einarson right now.
You're on a Grand Slam tear. I mean, I think that's 6 straight finals for Grand Slams dating back to last season, 2 wins. So what's been the key to the sustained success?
It's just we get on a roll and we just get feeling and like knowing the ice and getting comfortable with it. So and plus we just go out there and play relaxed and go out there and have some fun. So I think that's been a key to our success as well.
You're in touching distance of history at the Scotties as well, catching Colleen Jones 4 in a row up for grabs. So what would it mean to tie that record?
That would be an absolute honor if we can do that. We're definitely not going to put pressure on ourselves because we know it's not easy and we will have a target on our backs. So, and we have for the last 3 years. So we know what that feels like. But we're just going to do our thing and focus on what we can control and go from there.
How hard is it to repeat? I mean, even once at the Scotties, how tough is that?
It's extremely tough because, and the field is also tough, and adding 3 wild card spots into that, and it's a long, grueling week. So we definitely have to make sure we get our rest and recovery in between games, and also have some fun in that downtime that we have too.
What stands out to you about the field this year?
It's extremely hard, and quite a few of them are from Manitoba again. So just kind of like last year, and then when we were in the bubble, there was a few teams from Manitoba. So that says something that Manitoba is tough, and it takes a lot. Jen set the bar high for all of us, and we knew that we had to beat her. We have to be our best. So she's definitely helped in that, and so yeah, it's going to be so exciting, and we're definitely looking forward to it.
You just talked about downtime and having fun. So what does the team do when you do have some spare time?
We like to play some board games, and yeah, we play. It's called marbles. We like to do that, and also we have a dartboard game where we play darts, and that's also fun. But it's going to be hard to travel with those items.
Yeah, exactly. World Championship gold has eluded you still. Where does that kind of rank among your career goals?
It's definitely up there. You get when you get there and you get that feeling, you want to get back. So we won bronze, and we definitely want to get back there and hopefully maybe bring home gold for Canada. So, and hopefully we can get that opportunity.
What's your ultimate career goal?
Ultimate career goal would definitely be getting to the Olympics. We have we played in our very first trials last year, and we learned so much from that experience. So we definitely want to get there again, and but we'll just focus on taking 1 year at a time.
Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. And maybe leave those darts at home.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Marty.
That's Clancy Grandy. That's another Michael Burns Curling Canada photo. She is from Ontario. How do you feel about that? She moved across the country to British Columbia last year, joined a team, skips the team, wins BC, going to the Scotties.
Much different than Matt Dunstone, the jack of all trades, the sheriff for hire. Much different. We'll talk about that in a bit.
We'll talk about that in a bit. But Clancy Grandy, this is a tough one for Kamloopsians. We talked about it. She beat the Brown Rink.
In in extra ends in agonizing fashion at the BC Championships in January. One end from having the local team represent BC at home, which is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yes, we talked about that with Clancy. You can see that right now. Clancy Grandy, take us back to Chilliwack. The final rock's been thrown. You're a BC champion. What was that moment like?
Yeah, it was a really special moment for all of us. 3 of 4 of the girls, they lost the final last year. So to kind of get that moment and get it together, it was a big goal for our team this season. So we're super happy about that.
And speaking about the team this season, how did you get onto that team? Because you were in Ontario before.
Yeah, I know. I knew a few of the girls, and they had actually reached out to me a while back, as well as the coach. And one of the girls, Kayla, our third, I've known for a little while now from coaching together. And she had the idea to play together. And after talking to the rest of the group, I knew that I needed to do whatever I could to get on board and be able to play with this team.
So you moved across the country specifically for curling, right?
Yes, yeah.
Did you have to find a job?
Yes, I did. So luckily one of our sponsors, they are a physiotherapy and rehabilitation clinic, Rebound Sport and Spine in Langley, and that is what I do for work. So I was able to luckily transition to working part-time out here.
So is your plan to come and just pillage BC, win the BC title, win the Scotties and move back home? What's your plan?
No, this was, when we put this team together, this was a 4-year plan. So I will definitely be in BC for a minimum of 4 years. And after this Olympic cycle, we'll see where we're at as a team, and then we'll go from there. Okay,
I want to address the elephant in the room here, because you are the home team at the upcoming Scotties, but you also vanquished, you scuttled the Brown Rink. And the Brown Rink, they're like part of the fabric of this community. So you're a home team, but you're also the team that knocked out the Brown Rink. What's that like?
Yeah, they're a very strong team, and we've played them a few times this season, and we knew it was going to be tough. I know they would have been very great representatives for BC, but we're thrilled to have the opportunity, and we feel we deserve it. We worked really hard this season to be able to get to this point, knowing that the Scotties were also in BC, so it's going to be really special for us.
Put yourself in their shoes. How tough do you think it would be if it was in your hometown, the Scotties, and you were kind of forced to watch another team curl?
Yeah, I'm sure it would be extremely tough. Like I said, I know they're a very strong team, and they put up a really big fight for us, and we had to work really hard to get that. So I'm sure it would be tough from their perspective. How
do you plan on winning over the people of Kamloops and getting into the playoffs and maybe even winning that national title?
Yeah, once we get there, it's really just a matter of focusing one game at a time. So we're going to be kind of in our bubble in that sense. We're really excited and really thankful to be able to be Team BC. But at the end of the day, once the games get going, that's what we're focused on the ice. So
this is your first time as a skip at the Scotties, right? I think you were there as an alternate. Mm-hmm. Is this a dream come true for you? Can you picture what it's going to be like to walk onto that ice for the first time?
Yeah, I'm kind of goosebumps thinking about that moment. It's always been a big goal of mine, and it's always been a big goal of all the girls on the team. So it'll be really special to kind of get to share that first experience all together as a team, because for all 4 of us, we're in the same situation. So really looking forward to that.
What about the national exposure, the TV time, Vic Router calling the games? What's that part of it like?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, curling in Canada, specifically the Scotties and the Brier, is kind of the pinnacle of our sport. And it's quite impressive if you look into the TV ratings that those events draw nationally. So that's going to be huge. And it's really exciting for us because we have, of course, sponsors who we would not be able to do this sport without them. The cost of training and traveling, and it's massive for our team. So without our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to commit to this, and to be able to have the opportunity to kind of showcase not only ourselves but them on such a stage, it's huge for us.
That right there is a great photo. That's again Michael Burns, Curling Canada. That's the sheriff, Matt Dunstone, who you have a problem with again.
I don't have a problem with Matt Dunstone. He's one of the best curlers in Canada. He's proven it, which means you're also one of the best in the world. The issue I have is 2 things, and it's not his fault because he's playing by the rules,
residency rules,
wrong as they are. First of all, there shouldn't be wild card entries.
Yeah, last year, I'm
tournaments
going to
like
play that clip right now because you hated the fact that he made it as a wild card team
How
last
many
year.
provinces are there in Canada, Mike? There's 18 bloody teams at the Brier right now. With all due respect to Dunston, he shouldn't even be there.
Well, if he's get his name right, if you're going to rip him, it's Dunstone.
Dunstone. Dunstone. That really bugs me. Just like the Memorial Cup, when you have a host team there, it bugs me because it's diluted. That's all I want to say.
I think they're just trying to get the best possible talent
Too many teams
in the country there.
If you lose your provincial championship and then you make it in the back door and you win, it's a tainted win. It's an asterisk win.
I, for one, Matt Dunstone, are happy you're at the Brier.
I'm happy you're at the Brier, but I think
hope you can win a Brier for Kamloops, unlike Mr. Negative.
It wouldn't be for Kamloops. It would be for a wildcard team.
He's been here for
from
5
parts
years
unknown.
now.
Yeah,
5
but it's from
years.
parts. But the rest of his team is from
KGCC member.
Are they all Kamloopsians?
No, 3 of them are Virginians.
Okay, so who wins the thing then? Where's the Brier go?
He's the skip. It's like the Stanley Cup
When you
can bring it back home.
Well, no, because
you're not going to have a sip out of the Brier
but
because
if
the tankard because of this.
Get rid of the wild card. Get rid of the universal DL in
Just a
DH
quick baseball
in baseball. There, Rob Manfred's ruining that sport too.
12?
There's 10.
10 and
Bill, how many territories are there, Bill?
2.
3. So we're gonna have to get a teacher on the show next week. Anyway, so there's 13 territories, and because Ontario is so populated, they've always had 2 teams from Ontario and Northern Ontario, and it makes sense because of the population. So there's and then there's a team from Northwest Territories and the Yukon, and not none of it because there's not enough people. So anyway, there should be 13 teams max. And there's 18 this year. You got Team Canada, you got wildcard teams.
So many good curlers in Canada. They're trying to bring talent together to put the best possible show on.
If you can't win your province, then you should not be able to go to a championship in any sport, including the Memorial
Last
Cup.
year when he got knocked out, you were probably drinking wine, celebrating. He's not going to win. He's a
It doesn't
wildcard
affect
team.
my life. I'm
Despite
just
the
talking
fact
about
he's from Kamloops.
integrity. Oh, here we go. Let's start. Okay, he's from Kamloops.
Well, he lives in Kamloops.
Okay, here's the deal.
In Kamloops.
Here's the
He's
deal.
been here since 2017.
Right. Then why
5 years.
isn't he playing for Team B.C? In the previous year, he's from Manitoba originally, right?
Yes, he's a Winnipeg-born. Winnipeg-born.
Let me get this straight in my head. Winnipeg-born, Saskatchewan raised.
No, he was raised in Winnipeg.
Okay, what's his link to Saskatchewan? He was with Team Saskatchewan for the last few years.
His link is the residency rules allow for it.
I know, but
so
what's his link there?
He was on a team.
What's his
he was
link
the
there?
only import, and they had 3 guys who lived in Saskatchewan on that team.
Has he lived in Saskatchewan?
I don't think
Has he worked in Saskatchewan? Does he have any roots in Saskatchewan?
That's the residency rule allows for one import player.
Well, they should change it because it's ridiculous. Next thing you know, Alfonso Davies is going to play for Canada in the World Cup this past year. Then he's going to play for Ghana in 4 years, and then he's going to play for Germany in 4 years.
You don't respect people who might have to go to school in a different province, or for work reasons, or for family reasons.
Yes, I do.
To move.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
And then, for example,
Clancy
Matt Dunstone.
Grandy moved here, and she's here for 4 years, and she's got a thing. She's a resident here. She's paying taxes here.
Moving to Kamloops.
She's
Aaron
battling
Pincott,
traffic
his
here.
girlfriend.
She's working here. She's enduring the rain of Vancouver. What's he doing in Regina? He's never been to Regina in his life.
Yes, he has.
No, and he's played. Okay, so he's
the
now
Highland Curling Club. He knows those guys.
he's
Moscowy and Schneider before that.
He lives in Kamloops now. He's a newcomer to Kamloops, relatively newcomer to Kamloops. He's never played for Team BC. He played for Team Saskatchewan the last few years, even though I don't know what the hell his link to Saskatchewan is. And now he's what? Team Manitoba?
You know what he's doing? He's following his dream. He wants to go to the Olympics. He's trying to form the best team possible. He's doing it under the current rules.
Well, the rules suck.
And Canada has not done very well at the Olympics lately, so I think they're trying to encourage these teams performing, and you hate it. You just
well,
can't
I wouldn't
handle
be
it.
surprised in 2024 to see Matt, a great curler that he is, heading up Team None of It. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised.
You'd have none of that,
I'm not
too.
blaming Matt Dunstone. I'm thinking the system. Just like in baseball, where Rod Manfred's wrecking the great game I love, curling needs to get their head out of their ass and get back to the basics, get back to the real thing. Each province has a team. If you don't win your province, you don't get to go. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like participation trophies for everybody now. That's
Chris
it's like
Foulds
this. It's a society.
hates Matt Dunstone, hates curling Canada, can't understand why people have to move for schoolwork or family reasons.
No, and that's different. That's different. If you have to move, then play for the province you're in.
No, but what if you're playing for the same team for like 10 years?
No,
and then
you live there.
Maybe you have to go to university to better yourself and get a master's as a woman who was pregnant before, and you have to move out of town.
Then you find they have a pregnancy rule.
You're separated from your team. You've been with for 10 years.
No. You play.
You don't like Rihanna.
Where you live.
You guys don't. It's the Super Bowl still too.
I love Rihanna.
Okay, Mike. Anything there?
No.
No, that's it.
Now, good luck to Matt at the Brier. He's going to the Brier in London, Ontario. Good luck.
That's right.
Good luck. And he's on Team Manitoba, not a wild card, which is a step up, but still, it's wrong because you should have to live, work, endure
Winnipeg
where
born,
you live, and
grew up in Manitoba,
and lives
won
in
his
Kamloops,
first Buffalo,
and lives in Kamloops.
And let's hear from him right now, talking about how he won his first Buffalo, and it means so much to him, following in the footsteps of Kerri Burtnick and Vic Peters.
Buck Pierce is more of a Manitoban than he is.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously. You said it yourself, first one in the home province. I mean, you grew up watching the likes of Jeff Stoughton, Kerri Burtnick, Vic Peters, those guys wanting to be exactly like them, right? And, just kind of, now it's official, kind of followed in their footsteps, winning first Manitoba title. And that's obviously what makes this one so special.
You're still 27 and there's going to be 5 Briers for you already.
Yeah, I mean, if you could have told 10, 11-year-old me that was going to be the case, having 5 by 27, would have been a pinch me moment for sure. Obviously feels great and hope to have many more in the future. Yeah, I mean, it would, it would sure be nice to finally pick one of these up, and might be in our best position ever to do exactly that.
Okay, with the Scotties, it's kind of mixed emotions for you too. I mean, with Erin, I mean, I haven't talked to her in a few weeks. I'm sure it's kind of not quite as raw anymore, but she was saying, I don't know, it might be kind of tough to go watch. I mean, how are you guys feeling about that whole situation?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and I don't blame her for a second. It's one of the most difficult losses of their careers, and probably the most difficult one they'll ever have to go through. It's one of those things, it's a little difficult, kind of when one person wins and one doesn't, and it's sort of a difficult thing to navigate, but I mean, all you can do is just kind of be there for one another, and I'm going to be there for her the best way I can, this upcoming week, because I mean, for obvious reasons, it's going to be a very difficult week.
Let's wrap the show. Highlights for you.
I'm befuddled now. I got to take a pee again too. But I think. And by the way, I think I saw on our YouTube page, James Peters, the assistant news director over at CFJC.
Yeah.
I think he made a comment. First of all, it's nice to know that he watches.
He watches all the way to the end too.
I'm glad. Nice to know he watches our show. But I just have to correct him on one thing. He says, I had to watch when Foulds said he has to take a pee, give him a bidet.
Yeah.
Well, I have him know that bidet is for number 2, not for number 1, if you've been to Europe. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and you're a bidet guy. We know that.
That's right. Bidets are great.
People have really, like that bidet thing, people always comment on that, or it's like one little part of our show, but they remember the bidet
Well, the
thing.
bidet should be, it should be part of the step code. It should be the code. Everyone should have a bidet, because if you don't, it's gross.
Is there a bidet company that could sponsor?
Yeah, bidet right there.
We could look into that, I think.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's clean by.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a great bidet.
Yes.
And we'll see you last week.
I think it's great that Arjun Singh came in here and talked about Pat Wallace and Cliff Branchflower, especially Cliff Branchflower, because it's interesting. He was a mayor for a whole decade, and hardly anyone in town, a lot of people in town really won't know him because they're new here.
Yeah.
And he came in the age before social media, before the internet, really. But it's good to.
This was
have
good for
him.
me. I was just learning today. I didn't ask a lot of questions. I was just sitting there listening because I don't know them very well. I didn't
very good.
know Pat. I didn't know Cliff. So interesting to hear what they had to say.
It's good that we keep their memories and we note their accomplishments, because life, especially now, goes so fast. We should slow down and think about that.
I'll tell you who we should have right here next week. Matt Dunstone. Matt Dunstone, you and him. He can bring one of his little curling broom, and Mike can bring a guitar down. And
how about we go down to the curling? I play on a Tuesday.
You versus him, charity.
No. We'll do a charity thing, and we'll just draw to the button, and we'll do 3 each. And I'll bet on myself. I'll bet with BetStamp. I'll bet on myself because I bet
we can get a sponsor for that.
There'll be an upset.
Yeah, I'd sponsor that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's make that happen.
Yes.
Okay.
And would there be name calling allowed and stuff?
Anything.
It's free reign.
Yes, free reign.
Okay, we want to thank our sponsors, who we can't do the show without them. We've eclipsed 360 subscribers. We're growing still. Hop on board. Reader's Digest, our #1 viewed segment, needs a sponsor. The Magic Mirror, brought to you by Bidet. Have a great bidet, and we'll see you last week. Gorge Appliance and Mattress Center, fabulous free February. No interest on Sealy mattresses. Brand new Playland at McDonald's. The coffees are the best. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. For Chris, for Magic Mike, for Bill, I'm Marty. We'll see you last week.